Hey mama, today is a special day, and I want to first start off by saying happy birthday. 25 looks damn good on you. I know that was corny, but I had to say it. It goes without saying that my brothers and I are some of the luckiest human beings to have ever been born as your sons. No matter the circumstance, you always found a way to make things work, and for that I can never repay you. There were moments where we had to figure things out, and you would always make the sacrifice and leave yourself at the end, even though you needed things at the time as well. Thank you for always making those sacrifices for all of us. We really appreciate you. When I was a kid, I was such a pain in the ass. I was hard-headed, I was stubborn, and I hated following the rules. I know it kind of sounds like I'm describing myself now, but I promise you I've come a long way. Throughout all of that, you and Baba definitely disciplined me and made sure that I became the best version of myself that I could possibly be. I learned a lot from the two of you, especially you. I learned a lot of patience from you, I learned a lot of kindness from you, and I learned a lot of love from you. Thanks for always being there for me. As I grew older, I started to understand what it meant to become friends with your parents, and I started to really see the true you for who you are. I started to see how funny and goofy you were when you weren't trying to discipline me and be serious with me. I started to understand how much you really loved life and how much you love other people and how much you love investing so much of yourself into other folks. I really respect and admire that about you. I'll never forget one day you and Eamon in the winter of 2002 or 2003, when Eamon was only about 3 or 4 years old. We had been in the United States for a couple of years and you didn't have a car, but my teachers were calling and complaining because I was giving them a hard time because I was a bright student and I always got my work done and I was always top of the class, but I was giving them a hard time in the class because I hated staying in my seat. And so I loved getting up and running around the class and just trying to hang out with the homies and just write raps or color or talk about cartoons or basketball or whatever was going on that day. So you and Eamon showed up to my school one day, and all of a sudden here I was sitting upright in my seat behaving myself because I knew that you knew how to discipline me really well. And I also knew what was going to happen when I got back home when Baba was there. You had a small pencil bag that had coins inside of it. I had no idea that this was all the money that we had at the time, right? And so when you showed up to my school, I saw the pencil bag and I thought that it was mine. And I thought that it might have been supplies you brought for me. And so me being the naive kid that I am, I took your pencil bag and I held on to it just thinking that it was mine. Later that day when you finally left the school, you walked about a mile back to the bus stop. And, Eamon was only a kid, and so you're carrying him and you're walking through the snow at the time back to the bus station. And by the time that you got to the bus stop, you realized you didn't have any money left. I had all of it. You found a way to get onto the bus with the limited English that you knew at the time, and I'm not surprised. You're a kind soul, and I hope that people can see that. And I imagine that's probably what the bus driver saw when he looked at you. You made it home, and I eventually made it home later that day on the school bus, and by the time I got home, I asked you about the bag, but you didn't get upset with me. You didn't yell at me. You just took the bag, you smiled at me, and you walked away. I learned great humility from you in that moment, but I also want to take a moment to say I'm sorry. That was such a dumb move on my part, but again, we've come a long way. Thank you again for always finding a way to show up for me when I needed you. Everyone that knows you can't help but love you. You have an amazing heart and a kind soul. You're unlike anyone I've ever met in my life. I hope that one day I can leave behind a fraction of the legacy that you're going to leave behind. Thank you for being my mother. Happy birthday.